I apologize in advance if you can hear some unpleasant background noises. My cat is in heat and she's mad she can't come. Grotesque is a Japanese film from 2009. It came out during the extreme cinema boom of the mid to late 2000s. In America, you had the mainstream and the underground films that were quite extreme, and in France you had the new wave French extreme movement, but Japan kind of felt left out. However, this film does not try to imitate the Western extreme cinema. This is very much Japanese. It's more of an homage to the films I usually discuss here that I've learned to love throughout the years, because the Japanese had been doing these types of films since the late 80s. So is Grotesque as amazing as some of its early counterparts? No. Just like the classic Japanese titles that this is inspired by, the story is very simple. We follow what we assume is this young couple walking under a bridge and getting kidnapped by some psychopath. And when they wake up, they realize where they are. They're in a seedy basement, and then we meet the killer, who, like most of the film, is quite average. They are bound and gagged to some upstanding tables, and then the villain starts to stab our main character. We then get a flashback to discover who this famous couple is. And they're not even a couple, yeah, that was their first, technically date, even though I'm not sure if it was some business meeting, where did they know each other. They're just together, and then they end their date, and it seems to go very well for both of them. And then the girl sends this weird message of would you die for me? And the guy's like, yo bitch, we just met. And this theme of would you die for the other person kind of comes back to try to give some substance to this film, even though it doesn't really have any. After the flashback, who is strangely color corrected, very late 2000s, we go back to our killer, who will explain his diabolical plan. He just wants to come. In fact, he promises them that he will release them as soon as he gets sexual gratification, but if he doesn't, they'll die. The villain then decides to get some action from the girl, and we get this very Japanese scene where he licks all over her, and then finger bangs her. She's a squirter, by the way. Can't show that, but she is. But our evil doctor doesn't discriminate and then starts jerking off the guy. He then also comes on the girl, which, great shot. 30 minutes into the film, we finally get what we're here for. Chainsaws cutting body parts. But that's another problem with the film. The gore looks great. Obviously, very talented makeup artists work on this film. However, there's not enough of it. This film has a pretty notorious reputation, although it's in top 10 lists from BuzzFeed, but this kind of has the same reputation as a lot of films from that era, including Hostel, including Saw, and whatever you think of these films, they have good gore. This has good gore, but not enough to satisfy gorehounds. And the doctor decides to continue to play his sadistic games until he gets sexual gratification, which he does by nailing our main guy's balls. He then takes the testicle and I guess he comes. Why am I always talking about cum? Jesus Christ. Maybe I should start analyzing the Halloween and Scream franchise. Maybe I'll do some top 10 disturbing films. I might even do a video on the disturbing movie Iceberg. That gets views. And then our main characters wake up in an hospital, and again, the color correction is so 2009, it makes me cry. This is where they start, knowing each other and liking each other. They both realize that, there's some pieces missing, and they bond over that. They also bond over the terrible smell of the doctor, which the doctor seems very sweet and tells them, thank you for the gratification, I'll release you as soon as you get better. And then he treats them like royalty, until the evil plan is released, of which it's lying to them and then torture them again. And that's where we get our second gore scene that again lacks the copious amounts of gore I expected from a film with this reputation. Basically, the guy is like, you have to save this chick, here's a pair of scissors, but I'll cut you and you won't be able to really go there unless you've got power and will. But because he doesn't have the power of anime and God on his side, he can't do it, and then the man has to kill her. He decapitates her, and the film kind of goes silly for a moment, and the headless girl just bites him, and the guy wakes up to cut his foot, and pretty much the end. The guy, the doctor is fine. They're both dead, and he does it again. So, Grotesque. This is probably the most average film I talked about on my channel. It's not awful, it's not even bad, but it's not great, and it's not even good. It's like the most 5 out of 10 thing I've seen in a while. It's mid. It's really mid. The gore, like I said, is lacking. The flashbacks are way too long. I don't care about these characters. I just want to see them die. However, I can't. I've been deprived of that. And I'm not even disappointed, because I know this film is kind of notorious, but it's notorious and I don't want to sound like I'm gatekeeping, but you know, the more normie crowd, the crowd that looks at, you know, Watch Mojo Top 10. If you look up Top 10 disturbing films on YouTube or on Google, this will appear in a lot of them. And a lot of those movies that appear on these lists are actually pretty good, pretty disturbing. Cinematography, the color correction, looks like a late 2000 film. The sound is bad. The music, forgettable. Characters, forgettable. The evil doctor guy, like I said, is mediocre at best. It's 73 minutes and it still feels too long. I would probably have been fine at 45, cut out some character development that we don't give a fuck about, and just get more gore into this. But other than that, do I highly recommend this one? I think there are better Japanese films like this, like, you know, Tumbling Doll of Flesh, the Guinea Pig films, and a lot of the films I've discussed on this channel before, so watch those instead. This was average. So thank you for watching, and see you guys next time.